All right, guys, welcome to our channel. You are invincible. Really sorry for the delay. There was a technical error. I want to wish all our viewers a very happy Onam. This is a space where we can share our heartfelt gratitude for our farmers who work hard day in and day night. So today, the interview that we are going to have, I am so delighted to have this distinguished guest. Before I call him on board, I would like to share about him. He is just amazing. Dr. Amit Goswami. He is a PhD, a retired professor of physics from the University of Oregon, where he served from 1968 to 1997. In 1985, he discovered the solution to the quantum measurement problem and developed a science of experience explaining how consciousness splits into subject and object. A pioneer of this revolutionary new perspective within science, shares with us his vision of the unlimited potential of consciousness as the ground of all being, and how this revelation can actually help us to live better. Amit is also a spiritual practitioner and calls himself a activist in search of wholeness. And friends, he has few amazing discoveries. They are the theory of quantum evolution, the theory of quantum economics that extends atoms, Smith's capitalism into a workable paradigm for the 21st century, and fourth, the theory of quantum spirituality based on an exploration of wholeness. And mind you, this is not enough. He has written some fantastic books whose covers I'll throw right at you. The first book is Quantum Activism Can Save Civilization. The Quantum Doctor. God is not dead. Quantum Spirituality. The self aware universe, where consciousness creates the material world. The self aware universe, the next part. Quantum creativity. Physics of the soul. And last but not the least, the everything answer book. And my friends, let me tell you this. He is a multi-dimensional personality. He has also acted in films. Yes, you heard me right. I would like to share the name of the movies he has been a part of. What the bleep do we know? The documentaries Dalai Lama Renaissance and the Quantum Activist. Wow, I am so thrilled to have him with us tonight. And without further ado, I'd like to call upon Dr. Amit Goswami.
Hello everyone. Namaste.
Namaste, namaste, Dr. Goswami. I'm so thrilled to have you on board with us. Thank you so much for taking out time and being with us. It's
You're
just
very welcome.
fantastic on this auspicious day of Onam. Wish you a very happy Onam as well.
Happy wishes to everyone.
So, how are you doing during this phase? You look so you're like glowing and you look so happy. Touch wood. I'm so happy to see you smiling.
Well, happiness is an internal condition in us. So of course, there are things outside which I don't like, but that's the way things are. I mean, the world has not been without turmoil because of all of this wrong worldview that people are pursuing, and that's what we are here for, right? To give people who
Right,
can hear of some direction.
right, right. But it's really amazing to have you on board. I'm sorry I'm saying it a couple of times, but the multidimensional personality that you are, I'm so thrilled and I'm looking forward to this interview with you today. So if you're fine with it, shall we begin our endeavor?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is you're doing something very
Fantastic.
worthwhile.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goswami. So the first one which we have for you is, what is consciousness according to you? What
Well,
is consciousness?
Fortunately, it is not just according to me. I don't have the audacity of defining consciousness or saying anything about consciousness. That would be a personal thing.
Right.
No, this is backed up by two sources. First of all, the great sages of all wisdom traditions, including the oldest one, which is Indian wisdom tradition, called Vedanta, Upanishads, various other books such as Bhagavad Gita, and it is quite well done. And the idea is that consciousness is the ground of all being. It is what everything is. So defining it is not
Right.
very useful except to mention some of the qualities. And the three qualities they define was existence, conscious awareness, that it expresses itself as subject and object when it manifests. And the next idea was the objective of all this is bliss. Happiness is the purpose. So when I was looking at quantum physics, it's the physics of objects. So right, I mean, nobody expected quantum physics to have anything to say about consciousness. And I
Right.
was not taught that way either. In when I was in college, we were told to neglect, ignore the quantum measurement problem, which does exist. And quantum physics gives us a sense of possibility, very curious. And possibilities are no, there is no way we can measure possibilities in space and time. Space time, everything becomes actual. So that was called the measurement problem. How do the possibilities become actual? And then it just so happens that it cannot be done with a material force. It's the tremendous surprise that it cannot be done with any material force. So there has to be non-material something. And to avoid paradox and to agree with experimental data that non-material something is a field of oneness. It is everything, ground of being. So that's what I discovered. And it was as amazing to me as anybody who can hear. And of course, it is very gratifying to know that the scientists of the Vedic ages, 7,000 years ago, already intuited this very truth.
7,000. Wow, it's a long time.
Long time. This is the oldest of all wisdom traditions, and wisdom traditions have existed in other places as well, in Greece, in China, in Middle East, in the work of Jesus, he founded Christianity. He didn't find any religion. He was as much of a mystic as Krishna or any other. But his followers did find a religion. Religions are little dogmatic, so we have to be careful about distinguishing between wisdom and religion. They're different.
Right. But it's quite interesting, like 7,000 years back. So it goes back like 7,000 years. That's something which is very intriguing.
It is. I mean, it is just fascinating to think that in those days, very early days of the agricultural age, because the whole agricultural age is only 12,000 years old. So now many places were not even seen the dawn of civilization. And India is one of the early places. It's probably the earliest people say Mesopotamia and Middle East, but the developed one seems like the first one in India because this can be the basis of a civilization, and it was. Indus Valley Vedic civilization is one of the most lasting civilization that ever has happened in the world.
Correct.
The Roman civilization compared to that was only 1600 years. And this civilization has not lasted for at least 7,000 years. It started being downgraded about first century AD, not before that.
Wow. Wow. It's that old. And we are actually, in today's day and age, we have become so conscious and we have become so aware about this thing, which has been there since so many years. It's intriguing.
Well,
So,
everybody else are kind of ignorant or even actively downgrading it because people today uh, think that there is no consciousness beyond our ordinary level of consciousness. And they don't realize that they have to work a little, meditate a little, do some exercises that are not difficult to do, you know. Once
Yeah.
intelligent people make up their mind, I was one of those people, that once I made up my mind, okay, let me look into this. And a few meditative sessions, a little bit of thinking, and my life changed. So it is not hard. I don't know why people do so much, so many things. You know, they're climbing Mount Everest, they're building rockets to the moon, and they don't know how to meditate. But want to learn how to meditate and expand their consciousness and see the uh, as Deepak says, infinite possibilities of consciousness. That's what quantum physics says. Not Deepak or not me,
Exactly.
quantum physics says.
Exactly. I mean, something on the lines which I was listening to one of your interviews where you actually were able to change the perception of love in your own life, which was difficult for you to comprehend initially, but when you put your mind to it, then you actually delved into it with your energy and
That,
frequencies. You,
that's loud because that is the newest book I'm working on. Because
right,
quantum science does give us a very, very good scientific explanation and guideline for how to engage in love, where are the pitfalls, what we need to do. It's really a beautiful field. And again, I
right,
emphasize that there are three quantum principles, and all of them are quite simple. The
right,
first one is called non-locality. It's an
correct,
expansion of consciousness, and it is just so easy to do. You look at a sunset, look at a flower in the morning in a fresh mind, and you'll find that all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, that you will relax. You relax, and that relaxation is kind of a happiness. It's inclusive. You'll notice that in that relaxed mode, anybody who interacts with you, you are friendly. You are open. That is what we call love, that openness, that friendliness. On the other hand,
right,
if you are in a bad mood, you are angry, or you are weak, you are not getting your wishes, then you have contracted consciousness. In that consciousness, how do you treat a friend? You don't treat a friend very well. You don't include him in the consciousness. So that's the definition of expanded versus contracted consciousness.
right,
Consciousness is not an object. An object does not expand and contract like depending on no stimulus. I mean, if you heat an object, it will expand, but
exactly,
you are not doing anything. You are just being,
absolutely,
right?
right,
So,
wonderful.
and there are,
That brings us, yes, sorry, you were saying so.
no, go ahead.
So that brings us to the next question, which is very interesting. I would really want to know this. What was the turning point in your life that pushed you towards this path? I know you were a professor, and then
Well,
how this path?
that is a very important story in my life.
We would love to
And
hear it.
I was at physics conference. I was invited to give a talk at a nuclear physics conference. So, I was a little happy about it because, conference speaking is one of the acclaimed honor that you can get in
Right.
America. So I'm this happy person giving a talk, and I gave my talk. I thought I did pretty well, but as soon as I sat down, the next speaker was talking, and somehow I felt that he's giving a better speech. It's much better, and I became jealous.
Oh,
And from then on, it just was downhill. I mean, where went all my happiness about giving a speech? I was just jealous that everybody is doing better, getting better attention, better questions, and jealousy, jealousy, jealousy. So this went on till 1 a.m. Can you believe it? For 16 hours. And
wow.
that time at night, in the morning, I guess I go out. The conference was at a hotel named Asilomar in Monterey Bay in California. beautiful place, and ocean air hits my face, and all of
Wow.
a sudden, complete unexpectedly, I have this thought: why do I live this way? Why do I live this way? And the
Mm.
answer came immediately that I don't have to. I have a choice.
In
I
that
can do.
instant, that's like a aha moment for you. Wow.
So that was it. I mean, I can do happy physics. I can integrate my how I live my life and my how I earn my livelihood, how I think. That was a very welcome message that I was waiting for until that point of my life.
So this was way back in the 1980s is when you had this aha moment.
This was actually earlier. This was 1973. And
Okay.
from
Okay.
that to 1985, took a lot of search and lot of meditation, lot of reading, lot of research, lot of everything. Relationship.
Right. Right. So you actually able to expand your consciousness in terms of trying to search your path.
I what I found is this, Abhishek. What I found is that, well, okay, initially, I was a mathematical physicist, theoretical physicist, so that was my training. So I was trying to find a mathematical solution. That was, of course, the choice of every mathematical physicist. But, there is no mathematical solution for this problem.
Right.
Um, I looked, and people like David Bohm who tried this and that. He actually succeeded, but he made an approximation to quantum physics, and I studied that approximation, but it is an approximation, and it's not the whole story. I was convinced of it. And quantum physics is so simply got, and when you try to do it mathematically, it just becomes very clumsy. And in
Exactly.
physics, there is a message in physics that Paul Dirac gave, which is that beauty. You must have to have beauty in your equations. So I knew that quantum physics has the beauty, quantum equations, and that is the correct one. But then we get into stuck with this idea of possibility there. And
Exactly.
not only that, where the possibility will live has this question of non-locality, signal-less communication. Two objects in that domain can get correlated and they can communicate instantly faster than the speed of
Yes.
light. So this now definitely establishes that there is a domain of reality outside of space and time. And then the question is, what is the nature of this domain? There is an unknown. Because if two objects can correlate instantly, that means they are one. So that much I knew, but then I have to convince that there is oneness somehow. There is, uh, and 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 I knew that it has to be consciousness, but I knew nothing because I left India, and even before then I was already a materialist. So I had completely forgotten the Indian metaphysics. It just, even if I remembered some of it, it just did not appeal to me. I was a total believer that consciousness has to be a brain phenomenon. So it was a paradox to me, and it hit me hard. But I kept my mind open, and that was the saving grace. So one day I was arguing with a mystic because those
Okay.
guys believe that consciousness is actually everything. One of those
Right.
guys, American guy actually, and
Oh, lovely.
he was shouting at
That
me.
itself is a paradox.
So that's how I all of a sudden I turned around and realized, hey, science can be done this way. The big problem for me was, like, David Bohm, one of the gurus, I can call him in physics, is really great. And he said that you cannot do science without objectivity. And that was kind of a blinder for me. And all of a sudden I realized, no, you can do science with that background, with that metaphysics. Consciousness is the ground of you. And then I discovered that, of course, it is not even a metaphysics because it can be verified. It already has been verified with the experiment on non-locality. And that energized me. Then one by one, I solved all the paradoxes of quantum physics, and then that's how it started. And
Wow. Wow.
Now it's a full-fledged science, and as the book, everything answer book claims, it's the answer to everything.
And it's quite in depth. I mean, from just the name of it, quantum physics. But if once I'm really interested in this field, so when you actually start reading about it, you just keep going deeper and deeper, and it's so interesting. Is just phenomenal. Seriously.
Yeah, it is, because it gives you so much answers. I mean, some of the world is very obscure. Like, look at the anthropic principle. The
Right.
astronomers, astrophysicists find very definitive evidence that the universe is built in such a way that life can evolve eventually. I mean, this is a bunch of molecules which are evolving. Initially there is nothing but a bunch of
Exactly.
molecules.
Correct.
Even molecules, elementary particles. I mean, molecules come at a much later stage. Elementary particles, that one goes on for quite a while, and then stars, galaxies, stars, etc. And then
Correct.
we begin to see molecules in some form in stars, in the atmosphere of stars, and then
Right.
planets. And then you see bigger molecules, and molecules, carbon-based, life, living molecules like DNA and protein appear and in possibilities. And all those possibilities collapse when the first life manages to manifest all these experiences with which the universe is created. That's the explanation of anthropic principle. So
Exactly.
how does universe, how does consciousness create, with this kind of science so that all this can happen in a scientific way. Consciousness does it all opportunistically. Once it creates the science, then Einstein was right. It really does not intervene. This is the popular notion of
Notion.
science is not true. This does not become subjective science. This science is not subjective. It is quite objective. Weakly objective, because quantum physics is weakly objective. It's not objective in the sense that every event can be repeatable. They can be repeated on the average. So in that sense, we call it weak objective. But
Right.
objective is there. It's not a subjective thing. It's not like God wishes and therefore we have something. It's
Mhm.
not like that. That's religion. But the rishis of the Upanishad never said that.
True.
They never
True.
said anything like that. They just said, well, these are the things. These are what we experience. I am that oneness. I can experience the oneness with you. You are also that. These are kind of things they're saying. And they're
Yeah, it
saying
was
that, well, there are five kinds of things that we can experience. We can experience our physical, we can experience our vital, life energy, which we now call vital energy, that's prana in Sanskrit. We can
right.
experience
Right.
thoughts, we can experience archetypes, Vijnanamaya Uposatha, great concept that Plato later called archetypes. And then
Exactly.
we have
The
consciousness.
nine archetypes.
Yes. So, I mean, all these things in the Upanishads. It's just amazing. And 7,000 years ago, those guys discovered a science which we are verifying, codifying in an actual science 7,000 years later. And only because people in the West developed 400 years ago this mathematical way of looking at the motion of objects, out of which came the fantastic notion that there is also substance, there is also consciousness. And this is how great ideas evolve, completely unsuspectingly. How it will happen, one never knows.
Exactly. But I'm glad and I'm happy that it's happening right now. And that we are around in this dimension at the moment to experience this evolution and understanding of quantum physics and also ingraining spirituality into it. I mean, I feel we are the lucky few who exist on earth right now to understand and go deeper in this topic. So yes.
Yeah,
So
it's good to
the
have
next question that
people.
I'd like to,
Yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
sorry, yeah, please, please. No, no, please finish.
That it is good to have that that those two things, which many people find oppositional, science and spirituality mentioned in the same breath. And not only that, realize that when we talk about spirituality, we're not talking about anything different. It is the nature of being. So
Correct.
there better be a science for it, right?
Absolutely. I agree with you. Next question I'd like to ask is with what we are facing at the moment. Today's times due to the pandemic, this is lowering the frequency in the energy meter. How do you think this will impact the future of humankind?
I didn't understand the first word. For the past and future, I got that. But before that, what you said, what
So
did you
we are facing this pandemic right now, whatever globally we are facing at the moment, this crisis. So the
okay.
energy and the frequency has really dropped down to an acute level. So what do you think this will affect the future of humankind in what manner?
Well, see, the pandemic is reminding us something. Nothing of this type of event is meaningless. It's not an accidental thing. It is very meaningful thing. We have enormously failing in following the purpose of consciousness. We have become too intellectual everywhere. Otherwise, how can people be so devoid of consciousness that they belittle their own consciousness? They think themselves about machines. How can
Right.
people, erudite people, intelligent people, I have no doubt about their intelligence. These guys, they're really intelligent. Daniel Pin, extremely intelligent guy. And he worked in conference on consciousness, pretending that he's a zombie, he's a machine, because that's what his theory says. He doesn't realize that if he meditates only for a few days, he'll find expansion of consciousness and change his belief system completely. This kind of stubborn ignorance is very difficult to maintain for a long time without giving rise to phenomena like happening in America, Donald Trump. So why coronavirus? Oh, no, this is very America-centered comment. This forgive me. I know people in the other parts of the world today don't think much about America because Trump really has done a number. But still, America is important in my judgment. Very, very important civilization. And what did Trump do? I mean, it's destroying, right? So,
Yeah.
but Trump is going to dislodge democracy. It will. So democracy is one of the institutions that is completely incoherent with the movement of consciousness, purpose of consciousness, obviously, because
Right.
consciousness says that all people are equal, democracy
Correct.
that the basic axiom.
Right.
So, imagine the scenario that is going on right now in US. Can you imagine any
Mm,
scenario where Trump would be defeated if coronavirus did not come along? The
no, I don't think
coronavirus
so.
I think coronavirus is saving America from American democracy, and by saving it, it is also saving democracy in the world because such a big democracy going down would have been a devastation for democracy. Many
Absolutely. Economically.
would jump to
Yeah.
autocratic rulers and dictators to take over everywhere practically. So this is a very momentous thing that is happening. Now, of course, eventually it will pass. We all know it will pass. The reason is that we had past encounters and much, much, much more devastating because we didn't even have science at the time. I'm talking
True.
about then. Now,
True.
we can survive those. So I have no doubt that eventually, I have written a little blog about it, that when we researched on it, my associate Valentina Anisar and
Yes, with whom you have written the books as well.
yeah, we wrote a blog about this, and we said that
Yes.
look, it is not such a big thing to even heal coronavirus. If the doctors are not so stubborn about using only allopathy, I think we would have found the solution. The death rate would be much, much less if we allowed alternative medicine to take over meditation and pranayama, these exercises. It would have helped. But anyway,
Right.
but it is what it is. we cannot change the practice of medicine just like that. I wrote a book
Correct.
in 2004, and the book sells, but so what? A few thousand people are able to refuse, but mainly the doctors. So this is the situation right now. But the coronavirus is going to force us to make some real changes in society.
Mm.
Eventually, people are going to realize that look, allopathic medicine is not the right one to get, and we cannot get immunity in the old-fashioned way that we got with plague, and this herd immunity is not going to happen like that. So we have to have a way of improving the immune system, and the improving the immune system, the only way is through love. I have
Wow.
proven this.
Yes.
This is one of my proudest moments of my life when I realized that only when immune system is suspended, then love is. So suspension of immune system is necessary, and that is like a skill. Nothing to worry about. Immune system are not. We don't love on and on and on. Love is
Right.
currency. We love and then love goes away. Love is a non-local expansion of consciousness, and so
Correct.
that comes with the immune system a little bit of rest, and then it goes away. Immune system is back. But that periodic rest is extremely important for immune system function. And so what is happening today with most people, and initially it looked like only the older people are susceptible because their immune system is so poor because they have gone through this ignoring love for so long. But now young children don't get love because their parents are gone to work and they are
Yes.
left with
Yes.
babysitters, those they're
Yes.
left with
Yes.
a by name their sort of education system. But de facto, what happens? I mean, 30 students, one teacher, children do what they do. So if
Exactly.
you
They have a mind of their own, anyways.
yeah, no love in that, no love in those places. Very rarely. Of course, you can have love if a loving person is available to teach those kids, available to take care of the children. So this is the situation. Children are growing up, teenagers are growing up, and look at them. There is no love in their life, and there is no strong immune system. And now we are sending them to school with this pandemic on, and they are going to die. They are going to die in bunches and bunches everywhere. And it's just so sad. I talk about it and immediately my energy. It's very difficult to talk about it without shrinkage of consciousness. So in this situation, to come out will take a while. Come out with that this is going to be a shock. The shock is not even come fully yet.
Right.
Uh, I agree with the doctors in America who are pessimistic. They are saying that no, it is only begun. There will be much,
Mm.
much more suffering because
Right.
we have not done the right things yet. We still have a lot of work left to do. Coronavirus has been a huge reminder of how much backward we have gone in terms of consciousness, in terms of civilization itself.
So true. So true.
To die like this, to let people die like this. We should be very open to any kind of solutions people can find, especially the spiritual solutions.
True. And it's very interesting when you see that, love is one of those primary factors to actually increase our immunity. And I guess it's so apt because when you have love, your entire realm and perception of being changes, and that
Absolutely.
eventually affects our immunity, our immune system. We look at the world in a different way, and it's not those teenager kind of love where you're happy one day and you're having a good time, and all of a sudden there's a breakup and stuff. But you're talking about higher consciousness love, the love of every sentient and insentient being, of being whole and being connected to each and every aspect, every dimension that we can see, and also having a profound insight to something that we even cannot see. The openness, which you said. So it's
Yeah,
such a beautiful way of looking at it.
yeah. Thank you for saying all this because one of the problems that we find that the materialism has so infected our thinking that many people, when they hear love, they only hear sex. They don't hear.
So true.
And so,
So true.
I think that
Unfortunately, yeah.
what brain molecules or body molecules, oxytocin and dopamine, and this distortion that love is a molecule has really changed the equation because people don't hear it. We say love, they hear, oh, molecule. Molecules are the same. So, cognitive dissonance. We are saying one thing, they're hearing something else.
Exactly. It's like talking to the wall and coming back, bouncing. Yeah.
Someone has to tell them love is empathy, love is caring for others. You can do whatever.
Compassion. Yeah.
People are now using empathy and sympathy in the same tone. And sympathy, of course, is a brain circuit that we have discovered. We have these mirror neurons which make us sympathetic to somebody's expression of what they're experiencing. That sympathetic response is a sort of a local response. That's not empathy. Empathy is a non-local response.
True.
But now, billions of psychologists write the two completely interchangeably. Empathy and sympathy are the same thing. So this kind of rewriting, which biologists did first, biologists, they wrote purpose teleology into teleonomy, purpose by name only, pretension. And then existential philosophy, again, the idea is that, well, all you have to do, these things don't exist, but you have to pretend in order to have civilization. So that's how this politically correct thing developed in America, and now it's everywhere. How are you? I'm good. That's the politically correct thing to say. You're suffering inside. You have coronavirus. You are dying. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
This
they
stuff,
just made a joke out of it. Talking about existence and non-existence, what is your take on God? What do you think? How do you perceive? Like,
what,
what is God? What is
what is
God?
God? Well,
Yeah.
the name God is, you know, this is this is one of the bugaboo of the tradition. Well, because I guess the pressure from popularizers was too much. I guess that's why, because even the Indians, even Upanishads, have the concept of Ishvara, which is translated as God.
Right.
And this is such a mistake because we really don't need the concept of a one word describing it. I think that's
Hmm.
stuck with Brahman and which means consciousness before this, and then not introduce any other watered down word, especially this personification that took place. And then Jesus did another number, God the Father. He should have never used God the Father because people used it literally. They took God the Father meaning a white bearded guy, Jesus' father, sitting on a throne, and Jesus this time. And that caused so much mischief around the world. Son of God, all these things, God the Father, a man, white man especially, that created racism. So all these funny things that we do with wonderful wisdom,
Hmm.
that's the human tendency. So we have to come out of it now that we have a science for it, and I really mean science because neuroscience is verifying. I made one prediction back in 1989 when my first paper on the whole came out, and lo and behold, in 3 years, a Mexican neurophysiologist, Jacobo Greenberg, he and his collaborators verified experimentally that yes,
Hmm.
local communication happens between human brains. We measured it with physical EEG machines, so nobody can throw any doubt. Now repeated in at least 25 or so laboratories in the world. And then, of course, there is a phase experiment, and the newest neuroscience experiments are very clear. These experiments are showing that the brain operates in two modalities. One is the regular local modality, which is like our constricted ego consciousness. But
Right.
then, in moments of creativity, in people who meditate, for them the brain changes. it becomes a completely different non-local modality where every part of the brain metaphorically dance in phase.
Wow,
Every
that's
part.
beautiful.
Isn't that amazing? I
It
mean,
is.
how the non-locality of consciousness is showing up in the brain, becoming a coherent superposition of all the parts. And so,
Absolutely.
this kind of demonstration, as if we can percolate it to the general public, and it will only be a matter of time. I have started a movement called quantum activism.
Yes.
Activism to make people aware that look, there is a science of consciousness, there is a science of all experience, there is a science of spirituality, there is a science of love. There's no reason to not enjoy the fruit of
Mm. Mm.
exploring these infinite potentialities that we have for personal growth and social growth.
So true. So true. I just hope that all existing humans understand this and they're not blinded. I just hope that happens, that day comes soon.
Well, it will take a while, but it will happen. It will happen.
Yes, yes. So, next question is wow, again, very interesting. What is the difference between conventional spirituality and quantum spirituality?
Okay, now this is a very subtle question. I mean, I don't know how many people will be into it. Actually, South Indian population in India, not even North Indians are very interested in this kind of question. But
Okay,
in South India, people get into still. I mean, still there is a subculture in South India. Well,
okay.
you know, we know South India only for IT and
Yes,
computers.
yes. And
That's not
highly intelligent
highly.
species from India.
I mean, a subculture there. The subculture worries still worry about this kind of question. Why are there two friends? South Indians, Shankara was South Indian, so was Ramanuja, right? Mystics, both of them, realized people. And Shankara says Vedanta, Ramanuja says qualified Vedanta, non-qualified non-dualism. And then Bhagavad Gita, which everybody respects, that
Right.
accepts qualified non-dualism as its ontology, metaphysics, and then develops a whole bunch of spirituality that are very famous in India and not so famous in the world, but still very quite well known. The book everybody knows, nobody reads it, of course. You have to accept it. I mean, this is a
Right.
materialist culture all the world over. Um, but there's an opportunity there. And what is Bhagavad Gita saying is that two kinds of spirituality. One is that you can do spirituality to live the world, because one interpretation of spirituality is that, look, spirit is one, and that's it. No other reality. Everything else is appearance, which is true.
In a way, yes.
But the appearance in this case is the purpose of consciousness. Because consciousness is doing it. This is the thing
Absolutely.
to the mystic. Consciousness willfully built in a science, now we know, is built in that consciousness will have to split, and the only way oneness can split is an appearance. But it's okay. That
Mm.
is how phenomena occur. Phenomena is an appearance of the interactions underneath. So this phenomena, a branch of Vedic species completely avoided. They said that no, the phenomena is appearance and therefore you must go for that oneness only. That's spirituality. But Krishna and others, Ramanuja, for example, very quickly realized that no, that's a very one-sided approach. Maybe for some people because they're tired of all this stuff. I mean, the world is
Right,
difficult.
right, right.
So a few people will escape. That's why escape when consciousness is creating this world. So let's explore the world and make it better. So that's why the Krishna wrote that, well, okay, if you can do actions in accordance with the
Mm.
consciousness, you will be infinitely better. And then that that kind of thing got stuck because Ramanuja was not as popular as Shankara. Shankara didn't beat the number on Indian spirituality.
Right.
Mahabharata was extremely popular. And then we find in the 20th century there's Aurobindo.
Correct.
Aurobindo
Sri
died in
Aurobindo,
20th
yes.
century. Gandhi came, and Rabindranath Tagore, and Aurobindo. These three people were instrumental. Ramakrishna, of course, Vivekananda. So India had a renaissance, spiritual renaissance. And this spiritual renaissance actually has been very, very helpful in setting the spiritual world, just as the Western resonance renaissance was very helpful to the uptake science, created democracy, capitalism, all these good institutions.
Right.
Similarly, Indian resonance that happened in 19th and 20th century in connection with the freedom movement actually
Correct.
set the spiritual movement in the movement of consciousness. And
Hmm.
so, I see now, quantum spirituality is just an offshoot of what these people said. So,
Okay.
I'm very proud to be born in India and brought up in India because the heritage, now that I remember it, I forgot for quite a long time, and
Right.
it feels good to be today.
It's like the seed of spirituality would be from India, and that's where everything came
And not
about.
only that, as I said, the revival was also in India. I mean, not only the seed 7,000 years ago, but
Right.
the revival in the 19th, 20th century is a fantastic revival. And look, it was taken to the West, and America started following, and of course there is backlash, but the backlash is passing. The biggest news today is very positive, no? Because look at what's happening in the American election. It is an amazing thing.
Yes.
And there is Trump, and the opposite person is who? Joseph Biden, who is actually a moral, decent person. I mean,
Absolutely.
this man is decent person. I mean, in politics today, to have a decent person,
Is difficult.
right?
I so agree with you. Wonderful. So, so in this platform, we actually not promoting any kind of religion, but we know Hinduism is one of the oldest religions. Did early Hinduism shows any signs of consciousness, and this did this affect your work, having
Uh,
read?
Ask it again. It's slowly.
So,
Because I'm
so
hearing very.
yeah, so Hinduism is a religion, and we are not
Yeah,
promoting any religion on this platform, but it does show a lot of signs of consciousness. Does it?
yeah,
That's the first question.
yeah.
Secondly, did this affect your life, your path, and your work? Was it
Actually,
influential in for you to reach where you have reached?
this question I am asked quite often because I live in the West, and for a long time I was a materialist. I, of course, have benefited from both the Western way of looking at things. You know, how my spiritual uh, awakening happened is actually not just the path of quantum physics and wisdom and all this. Crucial was in this role of an American white woman whose name is Maggie and still lives. Hi Maggie, if you're listening, probably not. But she asked me questions of love, challenged me in fact, to love
Correct.
from the
Correct.
not love, make love completely a brain phenomenon, which I was. I was thinking love person. I only thought about love, and that was love for me, a rational thing. But you know, that looking for love in the heart, that was very important, as it is looking for an answer to the quantum measurement problem. So those are the ways that I personally changed. That when I changed back, when I looked at the path of transformation, how to change, how to really develop these things that we are talking about, like decency.
Right. Right.
How do you become a decent person, a good person, a
Right.
loving person? Today I say sometimes I declare quite openly that I love humankind, the world is my family. To make such lofty statements, what actually you do? So that was the question that completely overwhelmed me. I had an
Mm.
experience early on that experiences are not so hard, but it took years and years and years of understanding of how to transform, how to really change, develop that character, where it comes to you cannot not be nice. You cannot exclude anybody from your consciousness. You cannot not love. And to get to that state, you really have to transform, change. So I
Mm.
didn't think that it is possible. Just the except for Patanjali and Bhagavad Gita and few other places, or in the people don't even talk about transformation very much. They only talk about
Mm.
self-realization and very esoteric things. Never interested me all that much, although I did spend hours and hours of thinking about that too. So eventually, it just boils down to that the heritage that is maximally helpful is Hinduism because
Right.
it has those treatises, and although Hinduism is very bogged down with Brahminism, Brahminism is a religion, Brahminism is not Hinduism. Hinduism is Vedanta based, Bhagavad Gita based, two strict, qualified
Correct.
dualism and non-dualism. Those two
Right.
spirits are part of Hinduism. One says, go for it, the world is Maya, and the other says, no, world is important, stay in the world, help the world.
Right. Do your duties. Yeah. Correct.
But Hinduism, as it is in Brahminism, that is like all other religions, quite prejudiced, although it does occasionally talk good, but they don't emphasize. See, the spiritual tradition is spiritual when it emphasizes transformation of all people. When you say that no, you cannot be transformed and excludes people, then immediately you are saying, well, those people cannot be loved.
Correct.
That's a kind of racism, right? And
Correct.
Hindus have
Absolutely.
opposed. And so long as Hindus do that, Hinduism is like much like any other religion who all do that. I mean, all religions have this caste system, so just followed by different things. But Hinduism
Right.
is true, we must not forget that. So I do not call myself Hindu in that sense. I don't mind being called a Hindu since the heritage is fantastic. But I don't usually jump into being proud of being a Hindu because that is that I am a Brahmin, just happens to be, and that has helped me in some ways.
Right.
I don't deny that some energies might be possible to inherit in reincarnation, and it's an involved
Yes.
aspect, so I
Yes.
won't go into it, but it is
Right.
possible.
Right.
To be born in a Brahmin family may have some special gifts that you get in terms of karma. But to exclude someone is unthinkable to me. To exclude a
Mm.
person because he was born a Shudra is unthinkable to me. Or exclude a person because he's black and I'm brown and somebody is white or
Yeah.
yellow is unthinkable to me. That you can exclude
Right.
anybody from your consciousness. You can't. Because all people are God's child, just literally. So
Right. Right.
uh, so in that sense, I avoid being called a general any religion to associate with it. On the other hand, I respect religions because if religions didn't exist, look at the alternative. Scientific material
Mm.
or pseudoscientific materialism, I should call it, this would have gotten even more powerful, more ubiquitous. More people would be following it if not for religion. So religions
Right.
also have their own purpose. They have not to be disregarded. They are important. They are important. I mean, you have to accept that Narendra Modi, with all of his dictatorial tendencies, is a better leader than what the opposition was getting us, the communists and the totally materialist Congress party. So in terms of that, you also have to be realistic. Okay, so religions have their faults, but they also have some goodness. Just as materialism, true, they have a lot of
Right.
faults. There are also some goodness in there. Or
Right.
if they did not do their honest science, and there are a lot of honest scientists even today, quantum science would never get verification in neuroscience, right? You have to
Very true.
admire these scientists, absolutely. So everybody have their good points. It's never, nobody is to be excluded. But you also have to be realistic that, okay, these institutions are not the perfect ones. Can we make a perfect institution? I think it will take time, but eventually it will be. And, so again, to go back to your question, I think the uh, path that we suggest, quantum spirituality or the spirituality of non-qualified,
Locality.
non
Yeah.
this importance of the world as well as the importance of the underlying oneness. This spirituality is very much alive in many systems. In fact, it is in Jesus is teaching very well. I call Jesus a yogi because he put things in a very wonderful way in that he points out the fundamental dichotomies of the human being. And in a way, what I have done with my life is to integrate those dichotomies that Jesus formulated very clearly. It has helped me enormously.
Right.
So, in this way, I think that you can find very good teachings in Jesus. You can find very good teachings in Sufis, Rumi and Kabir. They have very
Rest
good.
room. Yes. Yes.
You can find very good teachings in Buddhism. It's
Yes.
just
Mahayana Buddhism.
yes,
Yes.
Mahayana Buddhism. I mean, Nagarjuna has done, and even Buddha. Buddha's word is in retrospect, when you begin to understand it, it's fantastic.
Especially the last sutra which he wrote, the Lotus Sutra, the eighth
Yes,
scripture
yes,
that he wrote. It
yes,
says everything in that.
tremendous. It's tremendous. Of course, Nagarjuna clarified it much more, what teachers Samutpada, very important, dependent co-arising, that's the discovery of quantum science, and it has to
Right.
predecessor
Right.
Buddhism. That's enormous performance on the part of the spiritual tradition. So on the whole, all the world spiritual tradition, Judaism. I
Yes.
studied
Judaism.
for a while. It's great and fantastic. They have the same thing as Hinduism has, Panchakosa. Before now, today, even bulk of the scientists don't accept vital energy. But in the Kabbalah, there's total acceptance of not only sensing, but feeling, thinking, archetypes, and consciousness itself. So Kabbalah did also
Right.
get up. So all these spiritual traditions and the religion based on them have done their share of civilization building. Science
Mm.
has done its share also, and now we are in a turmoil because people just want to create chaos. We're going through a phase, and
Mm.
become a little bit of psychopath and sociopath. That's how to understand it. Too much dependence on rational thinking. So this will
True.
pass. This will pass.
It's like the instant gratification that people are looking at. Okay, in an
Yeah,
instant they want
that's
get everything.
right. Yes, yes,
But they forget the basic point that unless and until you delve into something deeper, you
yes.
can't elevate your consciousness.
And the problem is that besides if people are in such a hurry, moving
Yeah.
from one thing to another, hyperactive, it's very
Yes.
difficult for them to sit down and look at life with a little bit relaxed mind. And relaxation
Absolutely.
is a component of suicide. So it is going to take a while, but I teach workshops a lot, and people who come, uh, they are all gradually listening to the idea of transformation.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
how quickly surprised because my transformation has been out of the public site education for a very long time. And the idea is that you are what you are, brain gives you a pretty bad deal with all this negativity, 85%. negativity only 15% positivity, or you can maybe 80-20. That is just small quibbling about numbers. The fact is
Right.
that it's much, much more negative than positive. And that hurts. That hurts. That makes the human condition very difficult to deal with. And out of that condition, to come out and go for transformation is a very big step for today's people. And they're going for it.
Yes.
This is the hope. I mean, we have established a University of Transformational Education. We did Masters and Ph.D. and developing whole bunch of new people, cited exciting personalities of spiritual, quantum spiritual beings, and
Right.
they
Right.
each of them will become an emissary of spiritual. So don't be
Right.
afraid of the world. The world will certainly survive and come up better, better than ever.
Right. I feel this entire, like we were discussing earlier, I feel this is a beautiful phase that the universe is going through right now when it comes to living, because the last 8 to 9 months or maybe 10 months has shown the world what really matters. And if people really plug into that higher consciousness and even try to take that minute an inch of a step towards it, what you're saying is so true. I mean, the world will come up with something so new, so beautiful, like Mother Nature. She is actually reviving herself, and so many beautiful things are happening. So it's like it's just a beauty in a different perspective. So a lot of
Yes,
blessings also have happened due to this pandemic that we have been facing. So a lot of positives also, if we can see, apart from, yes, a lot of things which are not good, but everywhere in the media you only think and not think, but we only see about that. But people are they need to realize a lot of good is also happening when it comes for the from the
and
perspective of
we have this habit because of that tremendous negative emphasis about brain. We have this habit of emphasizing only the negative, and
yes,
people are so used to now looking for negative news that they don't even enjoy reading something positive anymore. I,
exactly. The mind is gotten trained to only bifurcate your mind only into the negativity. I mean, they just if they need to rewire it. Like, I mean, if you look at
It's
from the
all,
quantum
it's
physics,
all about hearing somebody, helping somebody. Oh, what is the fun in that? Boom, 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 boom. That's what we want.
exactly,
The,
exactly,
the mindset of happy mindset is gone. It's like Duryodhana saying to his father that, father asks, so are you satisfied? You have banished the Pandavas and are you happy? He said, I
yeah,
don't want happiness, father. You don't understand. I want to be victorious. I want
right,
to
right,
victory. So,
right,
this is what today's people. They want excitement. And that excitement, not happiness, the structures have changed. People are not looking for real intelligence. They don't realize that underneath all that excitement is the same hope that excitement will bring them what they think happiness is. That happiness
exactly.
is completely eludes them because they don't know that happiness actually is the opposite of what they're looking for. It's not in the
So true.
excitement, the relaxed lifestyle, it's the having the time to enjoy. Whereas joy will be totally missing if you let the molecules of the brain take over your life.
True, true. I mean,
So
it's so simple, but
we have a neuroscience course where we make this point. So in the brain story, people need to understand that how many people have the time to read about the brain? It seems so scientific, so complicated.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you have to understand because brain brings consciousness to the world. So you have to understand this 3 pound universe. It's very
exactly. I mean, you have a universe in your own self, and you're the creator of whatever you want. I mean, just building new neurons, new connections from a quantum physics point of view. It's so simple if you look at it. But the perception that people have, which you rightly said, that it's so scientific and it's beyond my comprehension. I mean, why don't you just start learning about it or start reading? So yeah, I hope people, viewers listening really get this point that we can really change our consciousness. You know, it's not that
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah. The worst effect of this IT, I have IT is a good technology. I mean, it's not the technology's fault. It's a society, culture, IT, emphasis on sex, pleasure. It's a whole bunch of things together. Power is individuality, individual power, forget the
Yes,
totality, forget the society, selfishness, misanthropy. So together, these things are causing this havoc on our civilization. So in this, we
right.
sit down together and slowly just enjoy the moment and then see what is the meaning, what is the purpose, and then follow the purpose and become intelligent and change the world to the best ability we can, live in an authentic way. These things take a little time because one of the effects of IT is to dumb people down. This dumbing
Yes,
down is now official. People have measured it. It is indeed a lowering of even IQ because they don't have time to even memorize anything. IQ, you cannot check the answers quickly on the internet and give the answer. IQ want the answer right now, and people don't have the ability of recovering this answer, so their IQ also decreases.
right. And they
So
don't even know about EQ because they don't bother about IQ. Say, what's EQ? Oh,
normal
emotional quotient. Oh,
emotion. EQ is answer the question, what is E? The emotion that I'm aware of. Okay, so,
they might say, ki, oh, EQ, extraterrestrial quotient, ET.
but we
Wonderful.
make fun of them. It is our responsibility. We have not taught them correctly. We have neglected children education. And,
Right.
I have seen how little kids got pushed into, initially how the parents justified, oh, they're fine with these computer games. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
they are busy. So they're happy that
Yeah.
computer is babysitting. Instead of as
Yeah.
a cost babysitter, they now have a computer game to babysit. So that's how it all started in the 80s. And then
Right.
gradually, of course, internet developed, and now kids don't need your help anymore. They can do their own, they can navigate the internet even better than you can. So, and who is watching that they are finding pornography or whatever else,
Exactly. Exactly.
It's just it's a coming down all the way and no sense of anything that is meaningful and purposeful. So when shall we wake up? We wake up when coronavirus will force us to stay much more in the house, much more careful
Yes.
about what the children are getting, and
Yes.
take some responsibility. It's not all the responsibility of government. It's also our responsibility. We are the
Totally.
parents. We brought the children to this earth. We have a responsibility towards them. And likewise, we have to develop a culture where the children grow up and we grow old and children should take responsibility like in ancient Indian households where in India also the same thing is happening.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
I cannot say that it happens today that children take care of their old parents, but India still a lot of it happens. A lot of it takes place right now. I am just secluded, confined in an apartment, and who buys the food? My nephew son. He takes care of his so totally, and that's because
Right.
he's an Indian.
Right.
In America or the West, it would be very difficult to employ somebody in order to get this job. So
Absolutely.
culture is important, and some of this culturation will come back forced by the virus. So, the optimistic side of the virus is as important as the pessimistic side. I think that the pessimistic side can be controlled and will find ways. And we need leaders, no question. We
Absolutely.
need
Absolutely.
you awareness from people.
Right. Right. Fantastic, doctor. So that brings us to our last question. I mean, you have so much of knowledge and so much of experience that one interview is not enough. And I'm hoping that you can give us some more time very, very soon So for today, I'll ask you our last question. And so you keep mentioning about the archetypes. What is an archetype? And why are archetypes important from a quantum spirituality perspective? I was able to read a bit about it. I mean, there are nine archetypes, which I was able to.
Glad you
So,
were asked. This
yes,
is a
yes,
very serious question, and I will answer it uh, both lightly and seriously. I
sure.
mean, seriously first because it is important to connect to them. See, we have the thinking is very strong today that the world of matter gives us the only stimuli, sensory stimuli are the only stimuli that we receive. It is very important to recognize, no, we are made of consciousness, and therefore, yes, of course, consciousness has created this material world, and we live there, and therefore the material world also is important to us because that is important for the hardware, material part of our body. But then we
Right,
also have the software, how the hardware functions is driven by our vital and the mental. That's the world with which we build software, thinking and feeling. And
right,
so, what should contribute the best software? Now, some of the software is built in to evolution, no question. But we built in a lot of software too while we are growing up. So while we are growing up, if we allow our software to be built only by the material stimuli, as it has been happening now, what
right,
happens is that we employ a very little part, the mechanical part of our body, the brain especially. Whereas if we early on allow children also to have the other source of stimuli that is coming to us constantly, called intuition. It
right.
comes directly from consciousness, they come
Correct.
non-local stimuli. What comes, these objects we call archetypes. Archetypes is a name given by Plato. It means objects around which higher thinking and higher feelings can be held. These objects have no name. We give them names depending on what thinking we put on them.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
They evoke this advanced higher thinking. They evoke these feelings. And so this thinking and feeling is how we describe them. For example, we say if the feeling is arising in the heart, if the intuition is acting to the heart, we say, well, it's love. So we give those.
Mm,
It does not come with a
mm,
name. So Plato called them
right.
archetypes. Just that well, we cannot really know them directly, and therefore they're kind of archetypes beyond all this naming that is done at the mental and the vital level. They are
Right.
beyond that. Aurobindo gave him a better name, supramental. That's a very good name.
Supramental. Sri
Beyond.
Aurobindo also had mentioned.
And the Upanishad called them big Gana Mayapusha, beyond Gana. Big Gana is beyond Gana, before Gana. Where Gana comes
Right.
from. Gana is the mind, mental knowledge. And this
Right.
Vijnana is how you get mental knowledge, higher mental knowledge.
Mm, mm,
How you get there. In the popular terms, these are just defining your purpose, the purpose of life. Purpose of life is these things. Look at even our professions, how they are built. They are built around this archetype. If you give me any profession also an archetype. Businessman, archetype is called abundance.
correct.
You know how we in Hinduism look at abundance? Lakshmi,
Money.
the goddess,
Right.
right? And the abundance of the lowly kind, Kubera, the one who thinks
Correct.
of abundance of stock market, abundance of money. That's
Correct.
Kubera. That's not a real god, demigod. So Hinduism has this very subtle distinctions of things.
Mm, mm,
Quite a beautiful even as religion. It has its thing. And then you get doctor. What did they do? They established wholeness. So archetype is wholeness. Scientists, what they look for, truth. Archetype is
right.
truth. Artist,
Right.
archetype is beauty. Lawyer,
Right.
archetype is justice.
Right.
Politician, archetype is justice.
Power. Yeah.
The
Justice.
politician
Right.
also archetype is power. You're right. Power is also
Right.
another. another. I mean, should be power and justice and love ideally, but problem arises when they are only into power. Problem arises
Correct.
when they are only into government, then it's money. But
Mm, mm,
if it is love, then it's money for everyone. That's the archetype also on the Kurla. So when Kubera goes into Lakshmi, goes into Annapurna, complete abundance for everybody, whoever wants
right.
can have. Right?
Right.
So the concepts of Hinduism. So in that sense, Hinduism is also very, very different. And gods were not created by Upanishad. Gods were created by Hinduism. They are the representatives
Right.
of
Right.
Upanishad. So again, so in that sense, so in the popular version, it is just this pujas that we do, like Durga, archetype of
Mm,
power, with love.
right.
Look at what Durga
Right.
is doing. Durga is killing the evil in human beings. The human being
True.
is now transformed from the animal into a human. So the real Durga, doesn't kill a man. Asura looks like a man, today's Durga, but real Durga kills only a Mahisha. And the man comes out of the Mahisha. So
Right.
man, transformation of man into a Mahisha into man, animal into man, is what Durga does. So that's the objective of power.
Correct.
Power so that I can have wisdom. Power so that I can have love. This is why I want power. If you read
Mm,
the structure which goes into Divine Mother, या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्मै 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 नमो नमः Shakti-rupena samskrita. Shakti is power. So it's a prayer to the Divine Mother, give me power so that
mm.
I can manifest my life to the betterment of people. This is
People.
always.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the archetype. The archetype is the enabler, the purpose of our
Mm.
existence.
And what is the other side? You said one is the serious and one is the not so serious. What is?
However, this was the popular type. the the Durgas and Lakshmis and Kalis and these are popular rendition of the archetype. It's no longer abstract. This should relate to people because people still do pujas, right?
Yes.
And in the West also they exist. The Greek archetype, Zeus, for example, raw
Yes.
power,
Yes.
very popular today in the West, but they also have Aphrodite, love. So, So these symbols are very important, and so long as men and women work out these symbols within them, the idea is not to offer them that they're separate from us. The
Mm.
idea is to offer them so that we incorporate them. We
Correct.
incorporate. I have to live yoga within you. That's
Right.
the idea. So, we have forgotten what it means to be worshipful to an archetype. We are invoking the archetypal energy to become a better human being. That's it.
So beautifully put, Doctor. So beautifully put. I mean, it's as simple as, being able to elevate your own self and then taking everybody along together on that path
Oh,
to have that one world, the world of love, peace, and harmony. I mean, I just hope that it starts to happen soon, and I'm sure, as rightly said, it is already happening, and the process is on. So this brings to the conclusion of our conversation today, Doctor, and it has been enlightening. It has been beautiful. I'm completely in awe with your experience. There's so much to learn, so much to still more to know. And I hope the viewers have totally enjoyed this conversation and have got a lot of insight on how a doctor has been able to, starting from a very physical aspect of life, physics, and then going towards the wholeness, spirituality, and then having an amalgamation and quantum physics. Wow, that's just beautiful. It's a short example of going from something which is known in a hypothetical manner, going into something unknown and mixing both and finding something so beautiful and profound, which makes the most of sense. quantum physics and
It's
spirituality.
part of the movement of consciousness, and I'm delighted that you and I given this time to go through this particular movement. Thank you so much for
Yes,
inviting.
yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Goswami. If you'd like to share something about the quantum activism Vishwalaya with us, with the viewers, would be great for them to know. So, guys, Dr. Goswami has started an amazing master's degree at quantum activism Vishwalaya. So, would you please like to share something on that, Dr.
Yes,
Goswami?
please, thank you for giving me the opportunity. This is a educational institution that came about in India, actually, located in Jaipur, India, in collaboration with University of Technology, which is an affiliated university with the government of India. So it's all official. The degree is approved by UGC and approved worldwide, just as any other Indian degrees. What do we teach? We teach the subject is quantum science of health, prosperity, and happiness. The very three things
Wow,
that we've
beautiful.
been talking about so much, but health is understood. That
Next time, for sure, we have something. Definitely.
but really, quantum science contributes tremendous amount to health. I did mention quantum dot. We
Yes,
meant
yes,
the coronavirus. So health is a very important subject for us. So is mental health, happiness,
yes.
and prosperity. Prosperity is the basis of businesses, economics, and very important part of our life today. Cannot be ignored. But prosperity means more than financial prosperity. Abundance is much more than that. It's also prosperity of your mental, of your vital,
Emotional. Yes.
emotional, absolutely. So that's what we teach. We teach to the whole human being. We teach meditation, we teach yoga, our own version called quantum yoga. But we have a integral yoga. Aurobindo will be proud of seeing this. It's really coming from his work and Bhagavad Gita, but we have done it much more embracive and more science oriented, so it's more useful and effective. That's for people. So that is the thing, and we use creativity a whole lot because now we know the creative process. Quantum physics allows us to discover the process, explain the process too.
Right.
So it is an institution where you will learn how to be a human being finally. You don't have to be stuck with this big situation that the education in materialism. No, offense to the Westerners, they have done a good job, but now it has become dogmatic. Matter is everything. It is stupid dogma. And we should realize that to keep spirit out from our affairs is a stupid thing to do. Really, it is the most non-intelligent thing that we can do. Because happiness is, by definition, expansion of consciousness. It's not molecular. Molecular
True.
happiness controls. It's very, very, impermanent.
It diffuses. Yeah.
So people should understand that, come to us, and we will straighten you up, and then you will be able to serve your life and the world much better. Thank you. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Goswami. Thank you so much for being with us on this platform. And thank you so much, viewers, for being with us on You Are Invincible. This interview has been enlightening for me, and I am so thrilled to be able to have this conversation with Dr. Goswami. Thank you so much, and I look forward to have many more in the coming months. And this is going to be phenomenal. I mean, I'm just waiting for your books to come out. And viewers, if you want more information about his books and also about the degree that he just spoke about, please visit his website, amitgoswami.org. You'll get all the information over there. So thank you so much. Wishing you again a very happy Onam. And thank you so much from the viewers and from our team to you, Dr. Goswami. A pleasure.
You
Heartfelt
are
gratitude.
a Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye. Bye.